Shanks losing his arm. At the very beginning of the story, Shanks loses an arm while saving Luffy from a Sea King near Fuchsia Village. The moment became one of the most iconic scenes in One Piece because it showed the bond between Shanks and Luffy, and it gave Luffy the straw hat that would define his journey. Years later, however, Shanks was revealed to be one of the four emperors, a pirate feared across the seas and respected even by the world government. He could split the sky with hockey clashes and stop powerful enemies with presence alone. Because of that, many viewers question how a relatively weak Sea King managed to take his arm. Some believe Oda had not fully created the later power system yet, while others think Shanks intentionally allowed it to happen to teach Luffy the price of protecting others. Either way, it remains one of the most discussed mysteries in the series. Crocodile losing too early. Crocodile was one of the first truly major villains in One Piece. He ruled from the shadows, controlled a criminal organization, and possessed the sand fruit, making him nearly untouchable in battle. He defeats Luffy multiple times before finally losing when Luffy discovers ways to bypass his sand body using water and blood. At the time, this was a satisfying victory for the hero. But as the story expanded, Crocodile's status as a former warlord and later his confidence in Marineford made some fans feel he was stronger than what Alabasta showed. If introduced later, many believe he would have been written as a much more difficult opponent. This makes his early defeat feel like the result of the story still growing into its later scale. Ace not escaping earlier. Marineford was built around saving Ace from execution. Whitebeard's fleet invaded headquarters, countless fighters died, and Luffy pushed himself beyond his limits just to reach his brother. After all that struggle, Ace is finally freed from his chains. It should have been the turning point where they escaped together. Instead, Ace turns back after Akainu insults Whitebeard, unable to ignore the disrespect toward the man he loved as a father. That decision leads directly to Ace's death while protecting Luffy. The moment is tragic and fits Ace's emotional pride, but many viewers still see it as avoidable. Because freedom was already within reach, the scene remains one of the most painful examples of emotion overruling logic. Big Mom's inconsistent threat level. Big Mom enters the story as a force of nature. She is nearly impossible to injure, commands a powerful empire, and can steal lifespan from terrified people. Her hunger rages can destroy cities, and even experienced fighters fear her direct strength. Yet in other scenes, she slips into comedic chaos, loses memory, gets distracted by food, or becomes the center of exaggerated humor. One Piece often mixes comedy and danger better than most stories, but with Big Mom, the shift can feel extreme. In one chapter, she seems unstoppable, and in another, she appears strangely manageable. This creates debate over whether her portrayal weakened one of the most powerful emperors. Zoro's direction problem. Zoro constantly getting lost is one of the oldest running jokes in One Piece. Even when given direct instructions or walking down a straight hallway, he somehow ends up in the wrong place. Sometimes he reaches battlefields by accident, while other times he vanishes entirely during urgent situations. The gag works because it contrasts with his otherwise serious personality and elite combat skill. However, there are moments where his lack of direction goes beyond believable comedy inside the story itself. He can miss paths that should be impossible to miss or travel the opposite way without noticing. It is clearly meant for humor, but it remains one of the series' most famous playful inconsistencies.